Good evening, everyone. It's so great to feel and hear the energy in the room. So I'd like to call this regular meeting of the July 20th Zion City Council to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Here.
Commissioner Holmes?
Here.
Mayor McKinney?
Here. Item number 3 is Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Brimner, would you do the honors?
All of us are proud. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Brimner? Tonight, Pastor Carlson from Grace Missionary Church is going to administer the prayer for us this evening.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Great to see you, Pastor Carlson.
You too. Thank you, folks. Let's pray. God in heaven, we come to this government building to do the work of the people. This is my Father's world. We are so dependent on you, the creator and the sustainer of all things, the one who owns everything. I pray, Father God, you help us to recognize in so many examples of the fact that from coast to coast, from Washington to Springfield to Zion, we don't have the answers left and right, Republican, Democrat. Father, there are things that escape us. There's many things that require the hand and the wisdom and the power of a benevolent God. And so we thank you that we can come before you and bring these larger issues, these issues of life and death and justice, all these things that you created. And I pray, Father God, you deliver us from the arrogance that says otherwise, and that you give us a humility that would put ourselves at your disposal. I pray, Father God, that you do great and marvelous things in the country I cherish and the city I love. I pray, Father God, that you would help us to be able to come together to do the work of the people, of the country, and of the community. But I ask, oh God, that I would also be the work of your hand. For Father, we want to have your blessing as well. In your providence, you've given us all things. In your sovereignty, you direct. And I would ask that you help us not to ask whose side you're on, but to make sure we are on your side. And I ask that humbly, Father, as I look at this group here, our fellow citizens, as we enjoy the summer months with families out, and the pavilions being used again, and the pool being used, Father, as we have family reunions, vacation Bible schools, even the road work is welcome, Father, because things are happening. Life is stirring. And a lot of decisions will be made tonight. A lot of good people will say a lot of important things. Big decisions will be made. And I ask, Father God, that you give us wisdom and discernment and great grace and love for one another as we do so. Because this is my Father's world. We have a part in it. And I ask it in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Carlson. Thank you, Commissioner McDowell, for arranging our pastor for the evening to give offer prayer. Item number 4, are there any agenda changes this evening? If not, is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Fryerson, second by Holmes. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 5, public hearing, appropriation ordinance. Is there a motion to go into public hearing?
Second.
So moved by McDowell, second by Holmes. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye.
So, as we open the public hearing here, just to explain real quick what the appropriation ordinance is, we at the last meeting approved the city's budget for the fiscal year, which is what we use internally for our annual operations, cost of services. It's not just our general fund, but it's all funds, water and sewer, all the special revenue funds, basically city operations as a whole. But the appropriation ordinance is what legally allows us to expend those funds. So we have to adopt the appropriation ordinance that gives us our legal authority to expend funds. That being said, the appropriation ordinance is higher than what the total is for the city. We build in contingencies here for disaster recovery if something happened that we had to expend additional funds. Our thought is we would offset that with federal assistance or other grant revenues, but we didn't want to be in violation of our legal authority to expend funds by limiting it to just what our budget is. Our budget's more conservative, but we do have amounts in here that are over that. Another reason we don't make it match budget is sometimes things just go over budget. You don't want to be in violation if you're $50 over on a line item, things of that nature. So there's two practical reasons for that. But that being said, we have the appropriation before you in the amount of $43,999,165 for all funds of the city for the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2022. And we open it up for comment. At this point, should anyone like to comment on this? You just close it.
Okay.
I'll defer to Attorney Patel.
No. Mr. Chair, if I may. Can we put on the record, Madam Clerk, that there was no comment given on the public hearing? Thank you very much. And then we can move
Yes.
to adjourn the public hearing and then reopen into the executive board meeting. So we would motion to adjourn the public hearing, and then we would motion to restart essentially the executive board meeting.
Is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
So moved.
So moved by Holmes. Second. Second by McDowell. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Mayor McKinney?
Aye. So there's a motion to return to the regular meeting?
Please, Mr. Chair.
So moved.
So moved by Holmes. Second. Second by McDowell. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Mayor McKinney?
Aye. All right. Item number 6 is citizens' comments. Before our citizens' comments, I just want to acknowledge one of our distinguished guests that's at our city council this evening, Judge Reginald Matthews. Welcome
Good evening. Thank you.
welcome to the city of Zion, and thanks for attending our board meeting. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is citizen comments. Mary Lou Hildebrand.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. During the month of June, your ESDA volunteers assisted with traffic and safety for graduation, assisted with the food pantry at the leisure center, assisted the PD at accidents and with road closures for block parties. We performed a monthly siren test with all sirens working as needed, and we assisted the fire department at fires. We did the annual alarm test for the center. We had team and command staff meetings for training and planning events. During duty nights, we upgraded the rehab van so that we can more efficiently provide cooling drinks at fires and long-term scenes. We did all the duties that are needed to maintain the equipment at the ESDA Center so that we are prepared to go out to assist when needed. Your ESDA volunteers gave over 127 hours of their time to assist where needed in the city. This saved the city $3,475. Your ESDA volunteers remain committed to assisting where needed in the city. If you also care for your city and wish to become a part of the solutions in the city, you can apply on the city website. Go to the I Want To drop-down menu and click Apply for a job. We welcome new members anytime and we provide training for the tasks we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary Lou.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, yes. Unfortunately, there are a couple of events that happened within the last 10 days or so that was out with it as an crew late one night in my neighborhood. So thank you for helping with our first responders and our citizens.
Thank you, Mayor, for giving my great nephew
We better clarify that.
You talk basketball.
Okay.
My great nephew's big back for that.
Other person on the list, Clyde McLemore.
I think he's indisposed right now.
All right, going once, going twice, gone. Item number 7 is consent agenda.
Approval of minutes of a special meeting held on June 29th, 2021 at 4 p.m. Approval but not release of closed session minutes of a special meeting held on June 29th, 2021 at 5:35 p.m. A regular meeting held on July 6th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Approval but not release of closed session minutes of a meeting held on July 6th, 2021 at 8 p.m.
Is there a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
So moved by Frierson. Second by McDowell.
I have a slight nit to the minutes for the budget workshop, page 2, under Police Department. It says Chief, line number 2, it says Chief Barden is implanting. It should say implementing. Definitely a different context.
And there's approval of minute with the corrections. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye.
Bills, vouchers 137798 through 137879, drawn on Huntington National Bank, total $544,797.69.
Is there a motion to approve the bills?
I'll move to approve the bills.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Fisher, second by McDowell. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8, consider passing ordinances as follows. 8A, making appropriations for the City of Zion fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2021 and ending April 30th, 2022 per Administrator Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. As mentioned during the public hearing, I would recommend the approval of the appropriation ordinance as presented in the amount of $43,999,165 for fiscal year ending April 30th, 2022.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Fisher, second by Holmes. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8B, amending Chapter 2, Article 7, Section 2-497 of the Zion Municipal Code regarding the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners per Administrator Nabel.
Thank you again, Mayor and Commissioners. This code deals with the compensation of and duties of the Secretary for the Police and Fire Commission. Has not been updated in quite a while, but the duties have expanded and been more frequent lately. So we are recommending the increase from $100 per meeting, the change from $100 per meeting to $400 per month for all related duties of that position.
Is there a motion in amending Chapter 2, Article 7, Section 2-497 of the Zion Municipal Code?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Frierson,
No second.
second by Holmes. Questions?
I
Yeah.
have a question. So, does this, what's the current expenditure on this annually? Right now?
Annually, it depends on the number of meetings. We actually have Karen Graves, our Human Resources Director, handling that as part of compensation versus a volunteer position that it has been in the past. So, but we typically probably had a meeting a month, so you're looking at about $1,200, but also the compensation that goes with that position for all the preparation and other duties that go with it, that we're kind of encompassing all of that into a single stipend.
So were we paying out this stipend before? Or was it just kind of on the books and then we folded that into existing positions?
I would have to check into the payroll system on that.
Okay.
I believe it's been there historically. But I think that was when it was a voluntary position versus a compensated employee position. So we may have had some crossover on that period, but it's something that's budgeted for on an annual basis.
But this doesn't really separate out whether they're volunteer or employee, right? So is that material as to whether or not they're employee or volunteer for the stipend?
It probably just from IRS reporting standpoints.
Okay.
But I don't know that it is. It's not spelled out in that way in the code.
Okay. And then do we
Check
have
the roll records.
anything that covers the expanded duties?
Director Graves and I are actually working on that as far as the responsibilities of what that position will entail. That's just kind of been encompassed in the HR other duties throughout the years to get more of a specific roles and responsibilities of that position.
Okay. And how would that be communicated back to this body?
I'll just send it to
Just
all of
email.
you once we have it. We have a meeting, I believe, Thursday,
Okay.
as far as that goes, but
Okay.
just kind of separating those, like I said, separating those out and just getting a clear, concise description of what it entails.
Okay. And, all right, so this is flat per month. Okay.
Yeah.
Any additional questions?
We did that on a flat per month because it's very cyclical based on, there's some times where there's a lot more involved based on needs of testing and expiration of lists versus other months. But
Well, and I guess rethinking my motion, so there are times or there are periods where when we're not dealing with so much for the list, then meetings are not required. So by taking this, away from being per meeting, we're going to be paying in those months as well. So for the duties that are going to be redefined, are those duties going to cover more than just attending the regular meetings?
Yes.
And so we will be,
absolutely.
okay, okay. And I think last thing, when do you plan to finalize that list for the role and responsibilities?
I'm hoping to go over the preliminary this week with Karen and then get it finalized maybe next week.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
We had a motion and a second? I think there was, wasn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just asking, yeah. All right, no more additional questions. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8C regarding the disposition of surplus property per Chief Barton.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. The list of firearms below that I've attached is recommended to be declared as surplus and traded with an approved vendor of law enforcement firearms and equipment. A full description of each firearm to include the make, model, and serial number is listed. These firearms are property of the police department, the majority of which were previously used as duty weapons. Similar trades have been performed in the past and allow the department to augment budgetary needs for its firearms and tactical programs. All responsibility for the requisite documentation and transfer will be managed by the FFL dealer that we choose and remove the liability from the department in retaining these items. The list is attached if you'd like me to read them. I can do that. Nope, no need. I therefore respectfully request that this council approve the transfer of these items with the FFL dealer for a trade-in value of approximately $1,125.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion for the disposition of surplus property.
Motion by Frierson, second by McDowell. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8D, amending Article 3, Chapter 62, Section 62-202, 62-203, and 62-204 of the Zion Municipal Code per Chief Barton.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I present to you for your review a text amendment to Article 3, Chapter 62, 202 through Article 3, Chapter 62-204 of the Zion Municipal Code governing specifically and defining a tobacco use ordinance guidelines. The police department responds to and addresses issues of tobacco use by persons under 21 years of age. The Illinois compiled statutes amended their legal age from 18 to 21 years of age. This amendment to the ordinance allows for an enforcement arm for violations while aligning the ordinance with Illinois state statute. I therefore respectfully request your approval of this amendment of Article 3, Chapter 62 of the Zion Municipal Code.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Frierson,
Second.
second by Holmes. Are there questions or comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8E, authorizing and approving an agreement from an animal care and control program between the City of Zion and the Lake County Board of Health, per Chief Barton.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. On November 7th of 2018, this council approved the agreement between the City of Zion and the Lake County Health Department and Community Health Center Animal Care and Control Program. Staff specifically or respectfully requests this council reviews and approves the housekeeping update by changing the point of contact information on the agreement for the request of the Lake County Health Department. No other information or fee were changed.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Frierson, second by Fisher. Are there questions?
Yes, I
Comments?
have a question. What is the change in the contact? Who's?
Former Chief Kirk Henderson.
Okay.
To my name.
Okay, that's what I thought it was. Just wasn't specified in the memo. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8F, authorizing and approving an agreement for the installation of license plate cameras between the City of Zion and Flock Group, Inc., per Chief Barton.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I think I held all of my items for one meeting. So, on July 6th of 2021, this council approved the city budget. Within that budget was funding for license plate reader technology. Staff have researched innovative ways to assist with crime reduction and methods to assist with active investigations specific to vehicles involved in crimes. Staff have filtered the vendors and now respectfully request the approval to adopt the governmental agreement between Flock Safety and the City of Zion for the install of 10 license plate reader cameras within the city.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Frierson, second by Fisher. Are there questions, comments?
Yes, I do have one question. In the transfer of data from Flock to the agency, which would be the police department, how long? What is the record retention policy for that data?
So Flock specifically has worked with the NAACP on this issue explicitly. They've come to an agreement of a 30-day retention period that's good for both sides.
Okay.
The police department intends to maintain for that 30 days, and that allows for an investigation to go back. Once that 30 days, it's an automatic roll-off, unless we choose to, for some reason, capture that data. The only time that we're going to capture that data is if it would be used as evidentiary based knowledge. So, for instance, we got a lead for a specific case. We'll say a homicide. Unfortunately, if that happens, if we look through that camera system and we are able to capture a lead through that, we would be required to maintain that knowledge of how we got that lead. So we would print that specific CSV file. It wouldn't be a picture or anything like that. It'd be a specific CSV file that would go right into the file, and it would fall into our records management or records maintenance, or what's as far as we have to keep it as part of the records in the file for that case.
Okay.
For whatever that period is. So if it's a 2-year or 3-year or forever type thing, we'd have to keep that just as evidence.
Okay. Because within the policy, and I discussed this with Administrator Naval earlier today, basically the Flock maintains as part of this agreement the ability to come back and retrieve relevant information for other purposes, such as, matching against a law enforcement hot list or for other investigative purposes. So essentially, they maintain ownership of that data even though we're storing it over a long period of time.
Well, so
That's,
that's not accurate, as far as my understanding, when we've discussed it with them. Hot lists and other lists that we would create, those automatically fall off. There's nothing that we're gonna keep that goes on indefinitely.
Okay.
That information it falls off. So if and part of that is gonna be for a sharing program. So
Okay.
we, the city of Zion, can share with Gurnee or the entirety of the state of Illinois that has this system. If for some reason Kankakee, Illinois has an offender in their town that they got, and we share with them, Flock can transfer that information from us to Kankakee, and they may be able to make a correlation in a case that they might have. That's the intent of Flock being able to manage that, so they can create those connections for us. For instance, if this council approves this, I've already spoken with Chief Brian Smith of Gurnee, and his intention is to get on Flock as well and share their camera, almost doubling the system that we have without paying for it twice. So that's the agreement, to my understanding.
is there an underlying concern? I guess.
We were talking about section 4.4 of the contract, aggregated data.
Okay.
There's a second part of that where Flock, as part of this agreement, we grant them a non-exclusive worldwide perpetual royalty-free right and license during and after the service term to use and distribute aggregated data, which is anonymized data. So that's understandable. But there's a second part of that. Part 2, disclose the agency data and non-agency end-user data, both inclusive of any footage, to enable law enforcement monitoring against law enforcement hot lists, as well as provide footage search access to law enforcement for investigative purposes only. So essentially, Flock maintains, even after they've transferred data to us, they can still come back and request that data for other investigative purposes.
My understanding is that is just how the system is set up, right? So
Right.
as the chief mentioned, like the 30-day retention period, this is how they've set up their business model to be friendly with groups like the ACLU and different
Right.
organizations.
Right.
And so they own the equipment. We actually own the data for the city. And this aggregate piece, like the chief mentioned, is part of their functionality within the system is if we turn on sharing, then their software can go in and pull the data to aggregate for a search on a hot list or different investigative purposes. But they're not actually, taking the data back, I guess, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Well, my understanding is that they only maintain the data for 30 days. Any data that's transferred to the agency, which would be us, that we store, they still have the right to come back and request that data for other purposes, and we can't charge them for it because it would be royalty-free.
And to clarify, maybe the way we're storing that data is going to be a printed sheet in like
Okay.
an Excel format that is.
So we would not be keeping video footage
No.
or anything on
No,
servers?
we don't keep anything, no.
Okay. That's why I was asking about records retention, is what data are we going to be keeping, and for how long and for what purposes?
Yeah, the only time records retention would apply is if it's got to go into a case file that we
Right.
used it specifically for. And again, that's just going to be a CSV file, an Excel file that transfers, we transfer it to Excel, print it off, and it just shows that here's the plate, here's the time, and this gives us the lead for court
Okay.
purposes.
Because I think we just want to assure the public that we're not keeping
We are not keeping.
video data for a long period of time on city servers or other cloud-based systems or whatever.
And I completely appreciate your concern, and I would reassure the community that this isn't an overextension of that long arm of the law. This is leads that we can generate that are gonna be searching for like stolen cars, or if we have suspect cars and related crimes that we can identify. That's all this is for. This isn't, and mind you, this is not video that's being captured. It is a picture that's captured of a car or the license plate, really, the license plate. And there's no video file, there's nothing like that. You're not gonna see people moving inside of cars, doing anything like that. It's simply the back of it. The camera or the system is supposed to grab the backs of cars. On rare occasions, they say it can grab the sides of cars too, but they don't rely on that at all. That's not accurate. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. I mean, that answers my questions on that.
Chief, another question about that. Can you give us an idea about how many cities within Lake County use the license plate readers?
Well, there's one other big brand or name company, and there's a couple other agencies that I know of, and I would guess only maybe 3 to 4 that use that brand. It's very expensive. This is much more cost-effective program, and there's a couple other agencies that are in talks with this company, Flock, or agencies that have signed on with them. I want to say there's 5 agencies in Lake County right now that have signed on with them, typically on the southern and southern western portion of the county. This company also utilizes a lot of private party agreements, so I can't tell you how many HOAs or Walmarts or other companies use this company, but Flock's largest private company is Walmart in the U.S. It's a really robust, it's a very easy program to use, and it's very timely. These camera systems are going to provide us data that, we'll call it a hot list, that's what the term they use. For instance, if we have a stolen car that somebody's reported, one of our community members has reported, we automatically are going to enter that into the system. If that vehicle drives by one of our cameras that we have installed, within 12 to 21 seconds, we'll get a notification that that vehicle is traveling and which direction it's traveling. That'll allow us, that'll go to each officer, it'll go to their cars in their MDTs, it'll go to dispatch directly. If we have an officer in that area, it'll pop up on their computer and they'll tell them, and it'll show them a little picture of what the vehicle is and the direction. They can self-assign. In that case, they can say, I was notified via this that I'm going to be looking for this stolen vehicle. So to answer your question, it's hard to answer that because I know there's a couple agencies that I just talked with Vernon Hills the other day about this. Libertyville's on board, Wonderland's looking at it. Us, Gurney. So I think it's a growing technology in this community, in this county.
Absolutely. I think I first read about these kind of cameras. Evanston was one of the first cities that had the license plate readers, and at that time they were much more expensive at that time, but the technology has changed a little bit.
The technology is growing, and the benefit of this technology over other brands of technology is at night, this technology will still give us vehicle makes and models and the plate number. So if the plate is on the wrong car, it'll tell us that that particular, because it reads taillights. It's a proprietary, trademark, and completely secure, basically, technology and intellectual property. But it'll tell us all that stuff versus the other one, which is more expensive, only gives us a plate. It's a pretty good program.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8G, amending Chapter 94 of the Zion Municipal Code regarding utilities per Director Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. City Council approved a $1.60 per 1,000 gallon rate increase to the water rate within the city limits on October 1st, 2019. In a housekeeping measure, staff is requesting and recommending that the rate for water supply outside of the corporate limits of the city shall be amended to $8.25 per 1,000 gallons.
Is there a motion to amend Chapter 94 of the Zion Municipal Code? So moved. So, motion by McDowell,
Second.
second by Fisher. Questions or comments?
One question for Director Roberts. How many outside of the city services are these homes in unincorporated Zion, or Where are they?
Some are in Beach Park, some are in unincorporated, some are in township. I would guesstimate maybe 1,000 to 1,500, but this is also on our bulk sales.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Director Neighbor, where does this put us in terms of with other municipalities in the area? Because I know for quite some time we've been far below what we charge for water than the other municipalities.
Yeah, we recently, and we'll be talking about this at a very near future meeting, we got our rate study back that we did, independent rate study, and we're averaging about $2.50 per thousand below the average currently, even at this rate. So that's just years of not keeping up with infrastructure, unfortunately, and not having the costs reflect that, trying to be mindful of our rates, but costs have caught up to us. But we're about $10 per 4,000 gallons, so $2.50 per thousand behind the average.
Okay, thank you. Sure. We had a first and a second. Any other questions, comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8.8, dissolving the City of Zion Nostalgia Days Commission and the City of Zion Jubilee Days Commission for Mayor McKinney. We have made a decision to dissolve the Jubilee Days and Nostalgia Days Commission, and we are creating a special events commission, which we will address as the next agenda item. Last year, due to COVID, we canceled several events, and we were still unsure how COVID was going to impact us this year based on the state COVID protocol and their mandates. As you know, earlier this year, we canceled Nostalgia Days, and we were still in the midst of COVID. Probably the worst kept secret in Zion right now is that the fact that we are canceling Jubilee Days this year, as we were unable to properly prepare for the event and allowing potential sponsors of these events to fully recover from the aftermath of COVID-19. I think anyone that's ever planned an event of this magnitude knows just how much detail and preparation goes into reaching sponsors and participants for the event. And planning this year, planning this kind of event requires a full year in advance notice. So we didn't want to put on an event that was not run properly and not giving people an opportunity to participate in it, not knowing what was going on with the state. So please know that we're not permanently canceling these events, just dissolving the two commissions to form one commission in which all special events will fit under this particular umbrella. The details of the commission we will be forthcoming, and we will look forward to having the events back in 2020. Item number I is establishing this special events per
2022.
2022, thank you.
We don't want to go back to 2020.
All right, thank you. 2022. Thank you. Item number 8I, establishing the special.
We have to vote on H first. Yes, sir.
Okay, I was told earlier that we didn't have to vote on H, but I guess there's, okay, so
To dissolve the commissions.
is there a motion to dissolve the commissions?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
First by, motion by Fisher, second by Holmes. Questions, comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8I, establishing the Special Events Commission per Mayor McKinney. As noted in my last comments, we have dissolved the two Zion Nostalgia Days Commission and the City of Zion Jubilee Day Commissions, and now we are establishing the Special Events Commission that will be the umbrella for all special events that come through the City of Zion. And as we get the details of that event, of the commission, we will have all of that put out publicly. So is there a motion to establish the Special Events Commission?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Holmes, second by McDowell. Questions, comments?
Just one question. I'm trying to find it in here, but I think I read that the committee can, the at-large members can come from Lake County. So I just wanted to know what was the rationale for expanding the parameters of where people live for the Zion Special Events Commission?
Well, one of the reasons is our Jubilee Day Parade is probably one of the most popular events in the county. And it's a huge tourism opportunity for us. So people with the Lake County Tourism Board, we can work with them to get planning and to get more involvement in the event in the future. So that was the rationale behind it.
Okay.
Great question, Commissioner McDowell. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 9, discussion, authorization, and approval. 9A, tabulation of bids, demolition of 2753, 2771, and 2785 Galilee per Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor, Commissioners. The city received 3 response letters for the demolition of 2753, 71, and 85 Galilee Avenue. Deutsche Contractors, Inc., $247,000, $999. Great Demolition Contractors, Inc., $297,000, $800. KLF Enterprise, Inc., $349,000. Staff is recommending the lowest responsible bidder, Deutsche Contractors, Inc., for $247,999. Demolition will be funded through Lake County CDBG grant.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Holmes and second by Frierson. Questions or comments?
Do we have a timetable when the demolition is going to occur?
Probably the next couple of weeks. We've got some paperwork and some other things to get out of the way first with this.
Just so that our citizens are aware, it's the old Munder building that was that's still located on between 27th and 28th Galilee. And that building has been abandoned for probably 3 or 4 decades. And there's been some interest in the site from developers, which we're continuing to pursue. But with that building being demolished now, we have an opportunity to really transform that entire area. And the apartment building across the street at 27th and Hebron, I know the ownership there, they've been doing a tremendous job of updating the apartment complex there, working with city officials to make sure it's safe, upgrading the properties for the residents. So once that building is down, we'll continue to look for opportunities to have possibly a nice new facility there that will add positive things to our community. Item number, did I call the roll? I'm sorry.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 9B, consider filling 2 police officer vacancies and requesting a name for the next qualified candidates from the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners eligibility list per Chief Barton.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I think I'm done after this one. On July 2nd of 2021, I was notified that one of our junior officers will be lateral transferring from the Zion Police Department within the next 45 days. Additionally, a senior officer has indicated that they will retire early next year. This creates a vacancy in the patrol ranks and negatively impacts staffing numbers and police response. I respectfully request the City Council approve the filling of these officer positions from the current eligibility register of police officer candidates established by the Zion Board of Police and Fire Commissioners. If those candidates successfully pass all pre-employment screening, I have previously requested the release of the next eligible candidates from the Board of Police and Fire Commissioners. If approved, these officers will attend the Police Academy August 10th of 2021. City Administrator David Naylor and I have discussed the need for the replacement of these officer positions, and the filling of these positions will have no negative impact on our budget due to replacing both officers currently in the step scale with starting salary officers.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Frierson, second by McDowell. Questions or comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 9C, consider appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission per Mayor McKinney. we are looking to add Adam Miller to the list, who will replace Juanita Winfrey. His term should expire on 4/30/24, and we would like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Winfrey for her many years of service in working with the city. She's been an absolute delight to work with. She's volunteered for just about every commission that we can think of. She's one of the Zion residents that truly cares and loves her city, and just felt like it was time for her to step away. So we wish her well. She's still here in the community. She'll still be part of us, but just want to thank her for her years of service. The other position that we're looking to fill, Kendra Huffman will replace Madeline Santana, who's with First Midwest Bank, and Mrs. Huffman's term will expire on 4/30/22. Again, same thing. Madeline Santana, with her bank being sold, has been taking on additional responsibilities and didn't feel that it would be fair to us to continue to serve on the zoning board because of her commitments with her job and with her family. And so we'd like to thank her for all that she's done within the city in terms of sponsoring events in town, being very engaged in our city, and just being on our Cubs board, and just being on so many different boards to help our city out. Madeline, you're going to be missed on the zoning board, but we understand that your priorities change at time when you have more work added to your load, and even with personal responsibilities. So is there a motion to accept these appointments, Adam Miller and Kendra Hofferman?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Holmes, second by Fisher. Any questions or comments?
Do you have any indication of the background of either of these individuals?
I do with Kendra Hofferman, works at Carthage College, and I can't recall the position, but we met with her. She attended a lot of our Zion community forums and was real integral in her view on what we need to be doing and what she could help with in us communicating with our citizens. And I thought she would be very smart and would be an addition to our boards. Adam Miller had expressed some interest in this. Dave, could you?
Yeah, he works as foreman and supervisor on different construction projects, as well as he's been involved in years past with Nostalgia Days, being a hard worker, doing whatever we need to for volunteering at various city events. I believe he may have been part of it at one point. He still is? Okay. So again, a person that commits a lot of volunteer time and resources to the city.
Awesome.
And I know Mrs. Huffman and her husband moved here to the city, and they just became very interested in doing what they could to improve our city through conversations that we had. She's attended a lot of events and was interested in kind of expanding her role with helping the city.
Awesome. Thank you.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 9D. Consider approval of agreement with Fraternal Order of Police, the David M. Parker Memorial, Zion Lot 91, and ILFOP Labor Council for May 1st, 2021 through April 30th, 2022 for patrol officers per Administrator Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. You have before you now we've completed negotiations with the FOP Patrol Officer Union. It's a one-year contract for us to then revisit for subsequent years. But I would recommend approval of the contract as presented with one minor change. Page 19, section 13.6, under the uniform allowance, I would request that we strike just the language of item 1, the following uniform items each May 1st. Just for clarification, that relates to newly hired employees getting that list of uniform items, but they do not get that list, those items every May 1st. They use their uniform allowance for that. So I would recommend approval with that correction.
Is there a motion to approve with the correction?
So moved.
Motion by Frierson, second by McDowell. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a minute. David M. Parker was a childhood friend of mine that worked for the police department for many years, and I can remember in 1994, he was going back to a college reunion at Johnson C. Smith University in North Carolina, and his plane crashed. I've known him since since we moved to Zion in 1962, and everything that I heard about him knew about him as a person and as a police officer, represented our community in such an incredible way, and I hadn't been reminded of that until I saw his name today. So threw my concentration off a little bit, and may he continue to rest in peace, David M. Parker. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 9E, consider waiving fees for city movie screen rental per administrator Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Presenting a request for a waiver of fees for the rental of the city movie screen for an event held by the Coalition for Healthy Communities as detailed in their application. We've utilized this screen in the past for nostalgia days, the community character walk, just being able to show movies, and we made it available to others if they meet the requirements of the application. The fee that we established was to cover the cost of our employees' overtime and the maintenance of the screen and related equipment. If waived, the city's cost would be under $1,000. The city's cost would be under $1,000 for the 2 days requested, and would be considered the city's contribution to the community event.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the waiver. Second.
Motion by Fisher, second by McDowell. Comments or questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Abstain.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Abstain. Can I have the opportunity to explain why we had to abstain from this? Commissioner Fryerson is the president of the Coalition for Healthy Communities, and I'm the vice president. And it's there's so much about this organization that works well with the city government and things that we are trying to do to help our citizens throughout the city of Zion. Mental health screenings, wellness. There's just so many things that this organization does behind the scenes. The Reclaim the Block Party, which happened about a month ago, was a big part of the coalition's efforts, and it took a lot of effort and a lot of details again with the planning, and it looks like we'll look to have more events like that in our community as we continue to rebuild this strong fabric within our community. Is that it?
We'll see.
Thank you. Item number 10 is departmental commentary. Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I know this is coming up in the city announcements, but I just want to remind everybody, Saturday, August 7th, from 8 to noon, in 28th Galilee, we'll have dumpsters set up for electronic and tire drop-off. There's flyers at the table on the way out, if anybody wants to take one. We have it also posted on our social media site.
And Director Ianson, could you go over some of the requirements? I know I asked you this at the last city council meeting. Just as you go there, you have to have a Zion driver's license, a Zion city sticker, some proof of ID that you live in Zion.
Yeah, we have 2 residents, and then there are going to be limitations also, bring up to 8 tires, electronics, computers and stuff like that. We'll take plenty of those, but only 8 tires.
So everybody that has that those electronics in your garage or in your storage unit that you want to get rid of, August 7th will be the time to do it, and it will be at the old Munder building, 27th and 28th Street in Galilee, where we had it last year, and it was really successful. We had a great turnout, and people were able to get a lot of their spring cleaning done.
We hauled away 10 dumpsters.
10 dumpsters last year. And we had tremendous help from the high schools and different organizations to load the dumpsters. Our commissioners were there. A lot of our citizens that are in the audience were there participating as well. So come out August 7th. It'll be our 4th annual Zion Cleanup Day. Director Roberts.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to give a couple updates on current projects. I have spoken with the IDOT rep. They are looking at milling our section within the city be from 17th Street to Wadsworth, starting in probably second week of August. We're continuing on the east side of Sheridan right now with concrete work. So it's not too bad right now. Once they start milling, it's going to get pretty active throughout the town there. Our 2021 water main project is wrapping up. We'll finalize that next week. The street program is starting in next week with the city streets. If anybody's interested, I brought some copies, a list of what streets are going to be done this year. The HMA patching program has been completed. That was over 11,000 square yards of material that was large patches throughout the city that was completed. If anybody's noticing, over by Jewel Thompson, between Barnhart and 173, that whole street was done. Underneath that road.
Over by McDonald's, are you saying Jewel
Yeah.
McDonald's? I don't know why I know about that location. And those locations for the street program can be also found on the city website?
They are posted on the city website, too. I just had some people last meeting ask me if they could have a copy, so I brought a few copies with me.
Great, I'll take one of those probably after the meeting. Thank you, Director Roberts.
Yes, sir.
Chief Street?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I guess the only thing I have is a friendly reminder of our blood drive that we're hosting at our Fire Station 1 on Thursday, the 22nd, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Through Vitalent. They did mention that pre-sign-ups have been a little slow, but that's okay. Walk-ins are perfectly fine. The pre-sign-ups just guarantee you a spot and help them plan a little bit better. So if you want to check our Facebook page and go to the website and choose a time that you can come, that'd be great. Otherwise, walk-ins are great too. Even if you can't make it on the 22nd, there's a code that kind of gives our drive credit here if you want to visit the Vitalent Center. And that would just, again, this is a great opportunity to help our community without having to expend too much time or effort. And we'd like to see you there.
Which organization, Chief Street, are you working with to put on the blood drive?
This one is Vitalent, the old Life Source blood centers.
Okay.
There's a center in Gurnee over by Great America. Is the closest to us. But yeah, thank you.
Okay. And not that I'm skipping over you, Chief Barton, but I'm going in an order. Administrator Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I said this at prior meetings, but I want to make sure we address this and I get out the importance of this. We have suspended during COVID, we suspended late fees and shutoffs for water. However, we have a couple thousand accounts that are eligible for shutoff right now due to delinquencies and not keeping up with their utility bills. Unless the state extends their orders for shutoffs, we are looking at September 1st to re-implement that. We've been sending out notices that accounts are eligible since back in March to try and get people to come in, pay whatever they can, as much as they can towards that, so that once this is implemented, I want to try and avoid a kind of second emergency wave of utilities because of potential last minute notifications. So we're trying to get out as far ahead of this as we can. No payment plans are needed right now because there are no shutoffs happening. Anything you can put towards it, please do so that we don't end up in you don't end up in kind of a dire situation once that starts. If you're having trouble with your utilities, being able to make payment for that, please contact the Zion Township or 211. May be able to, if you dial 211, they may be able to direct you to additional resources. There are a lot of funds available as part of the stimulus packages towards utility assistance. So just have to take some initiative and actually reach out to try and get that help.
Dave, thanks so much for the comments about 211 and the United Way. They've been a tremendous source for our residents to go to when they're in need. And as Dave mentioned, call that number before you've hit the wall. If anyone know anyone that's in this kind of situation, call that number. They can offer assistance. And we have found that a large percentage of their calls, the largest percentage of the United Way and 211 calls comes from our city. So call for help. They have professionals on staff that can help you with mental wellness, medical, rent, just a plethora of options and resources for our residents to be able to utilize. And we'll continue to push that number out through social media and as we talk here at council meetings. Thank you, Administrator Nabel. Chief Barton.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. Just a couple of things. Officers are enforcing parking violations. Right now, we have 2 to 6 city stickers. Please remember to purchase the city stickers. You can purchase them here at City Hall or the police department. And then road drop off. If you have any old expired medications, please don't flush them. Bring them into the police department lobby. We will open up the bin for you so you can drop those off anytime. So again, don't flush them. That's not good for the water. And we pay for a service to dispose of those. So please utilize that.
All right, thanks, Chief Barton. And our Human Resources Director, Karen Graves. She's hiding in the audience there. She probably thought I forgot her, but you have some news for us, some announcements.
Just wanted to share that we're wrapping up, Darlene and I have been working with our firefighter candidates, and so we're wrapping that up. And so hopefully we will have an eligibility list for our fire chief really soon. Additionally, please check our website because we will begin recruiting for entry police officers. And so we're looking at testing for them that will be online. They can do it in the comfort of their home. And we're looking at the second or the third week of September for that. Thank you, sir.
Is there an age limit for police officers?
35. 35. 35.
That's the oldest you can be to apply.
There are some caveats. You can be 40 if you have prior law enforcement experience or are transferring from another agency.
Sort of like the FBI.
You're not eligible.
Couldn't be age related, could it? No. Okay. Do any of our commissioners have any comments they would like to make before we wrap up the city council meeting?
I just wanted to thank one of the police officers. His name is last name is Barber. We have been complaining about speeding in my neighborhood since my mom owned our house over 30 years ago. Most recently, it was suggested that he have his vehicle sit back about not quite half of the street, and in one day he stopped. He ticketed, when I was there, 6 cars speeding through. So I just want to say thank you to him, and hopefully it will curtail any future speeders.
I'll pass that along. Thank you.
Also, I wanted to just ask, when is the next planning and zoning meeting? Does somebody know that?
First Thursday in August.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, I just want to make a note. The mayor, Mayor and I attended the foundation stone ceremony for the Ahmadiyya Mosque on July 10th. Very, very nice event. And I want to give a shout out to Mary Lou and ESDA. They did traffic control at the construction site. And so it was very well organized, very nice event. The mosque is going to, I was talking to their financial director, and they estimate that they will have maybe 25,000, 35,000 visitors to the mosque once it is complete. So it is going to be a destination site. It's going to bring a lot of visitors to Zion, and we always want visitors to come and visit Zion and enjoy our place and spend some money here. So, very nice event.
Any other commissioners? Just to piggyback a little bit on what Commissioner said, it's really interesting learning that this mosque, this discussion about the building of this mosque took place 125 years ago, 115, 125 years ago, between the founder of our city, John Dowie. And as I made my remarks at the event, we want to talk about persistence, commitment, and perseverance. This was an international audience they had their TV cameras there, and they had dignitaries coming in from other countries. They had dignitaries coming in from other parts of the United States. They were so excited about the vision that has presented itself after a discussion that took place 125 years ago. Pretty amazing. But again, the other part of it is their love for the city of Zion and what we've done to provide a place for everybody, not just members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community to worship, but every citizen in Zion that wants to go there and worship, they have the opportunity to do so. They're welcoming, and one of their slogans, which is a way of life and thinking, is love for all and hatred for none. And I can recall about 2 years ago when I saw that sign sitting outside of Clyde McLemore's house, I asked him, could he get me one? And I think that's one of the things that's beautiful about this community, that we've always had that love here. And with what we've gone through over the past year, not only throughout the United States, but the world, what's happening now, we have to have that mentality of loving one another and trying to help each other as we continue to get through the remnants of COVID and everything that's happened throughout the course of the world. So it's a big event, much bigger than I had anticipated. And I know they're excited about bringing businesses here too and bringing people here. So we'll have to be ready in a lot of respects for the traffic that will come through Zion, which will be a great thing for us.
So I guess with that, I'll plug Zion Together Days. We're coming toward the end of the summer. If you guys have your family, you want to get out and enjoy some of the events that we have. So Thursday, there is a concert in the park featuring BBI at 7. There's a movie in the park. Coco starts at 8 p.m. And then Saturday is a Monarch Mania. And then also there's a movie in the park on July 30th as well. So again, this is just part of our push to make sure that we're providing, family, kids, something that they can do, get out, be positive, enjoy one another, enjoy your neighbors, enjoy the city. There's a lot of beautiful things happening here, and we just want to continue to be a part of that and push for it. So that's just one of the things that we have coming up. And yeah, so I think that's it for today.
Were you asked to dress in a Monarch outfit?
I was not, and if I was, that message got lost.
Just a rumor I've heard. Just a rumor. Commissioner McDowell, anything? All right. Item number 11, announcements on July 21st. No, that's not right. That is, July 21st is tomorrow. So on August 4th at 7 p.m., there's a Zion City Council meeting.
August 4th is a Wednesday.
August 4th is a Wednesday. I was just checking to see if you were keeping track back there. So it's August 3rd. Yes, you did. August 3rd at 7 p.m., the Zion City Council meeting. And then August 7th is as we've already talked about, is from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. is the City of Zion Electronics and Tire Drop-Off, 2771 Galilee Avenue. With that, item number 12. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Frierson, second by Fisher. And clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. One more item before we adjourn. I meant to ask this question, but I'm part of that CRS club, can't remember stuff. Chief Barden, could you talk to us a little bit about this when Commissioner Holmes was talking about the police officers being active in the community? there's a form on, if I'm correct, on your website that gives each of our citizens an opportunity to connect with a sergeant that's in their districts. And could you explain that? We have 4 districts, patrol districts.
Yes, sir.
So if you're having a problem in your neighborhood, whether it's a noise problem, firecrackers going off, illegal fireworks, speeding, that you can connect with the officer, the sergeant that's in charge of your district by email to be able to inform them of the problem so that they get addressed. This has been a move and outreach by our police department to get to know our citizens better and to know that even though we have, 45 officers?
Yeah, 45.
That we are making the effort to try to reach out to as many of our citizens that can to kind of reshape the image of our police department. So could you talk about that list a little bit?
Well stated. What we've done is we have 4 districts. We have some, we call them home districts, where that officer is assigned to on a fairly permanent basis. And then across all shifts, there's a supervisor that's also assigned to that they pass information along. They keep hot sheets for like problem areas or repeated complaints, that kind of thing, or if there's been warnings given for noise violations or fireworks. Those things are all documented. But the intent was to make our police department more accessible to the community without having to call 911 or even calling the non-emergency number where sometimes you don't feel like you're heard as well. This gives you an opportunity to just write an email to that district commander, and it doesn't always have to be a complaint either. You could always, like Commissioner Holmes said, you were happy to see an officer enforcing traffic violations in that area. Appreciate it, that kind of thing. That does get back to us, and it gets back to me, so we can tailor our responses and provide more enforcement if needed.
Chief Barton, and I was remiss in one of the things I'd like an assignment for the next city council meeting, if you could probably have some of those sheets printed up and we could disseminate those to the people that attend city council meetings, and we'll have something like that. We're planning, as we have our cleanup days, to be able to disseminate information about the city for our residents, so they don't know who they need to reach in the event that something is happening within their neighborhood, whether it's a property that needs cleaned up, or a police issue, what else? Road issue, so they'll know who they can reach. So again, everybody, thank you for coming. Thanks for your enthusiasm, and everybody drive safely, and we'll see you in August.